What is going on, Diablo 2 fans? Dobrunsky here. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the second iteration of the Summoning Druid that was introduced in the second portion of PTR testing for patch 2.4. I'm going to be entirely honest, I've kind of changed my tune on this character. When I first was playing around with it, I was like, yeah, it's okay, Telestomp, pretty decent damage, but just doesn't quite compare to the Necro. But I didn't really see the Summoning Druid for what it was, because I do think there's several distinct advantages to a Summoning Druid or a Summoning Druid hybrid compared to a Summon Necro. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time covering what it was like playing the Summon Druid in normal playthrough, and then kind of how I feel like it progresses with decent gear, and then I'll do sort of the VOD clip where I tested with near perfect gear. But I do also want to include a section where I'm going to kind of walk back my initial thoughts on the Summoning Druid, because I did originally kind of rate it a B tier build, and I don't think it's an A or S tier, but I do think it's a lot better than what I initially gave it credit for, because you can do mini Ubers in pretty much any area in the game with really good safety, and there's a lot of different hybrid variants. So overall, I think it's a pretty good character. It's largely been improved, and I do hope you guys enjoy this video. Maybe you'll find it controversial. If you do, just let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. And a quick reminder before we jump in, just want to let you guys know that if you do enjoy my YouTube content, I do stream twice a week on Twitch, so any follows on that platform would be very much appreciated. Got the link for my Twitch channel in the description below. That being said, guys, let's jump in. So I figured that the best way to actually start this video was to spend a little bit of time talking about a normal nightmare slash kind of budget playthrough for Summon Druid. Now, I'm going to be honest, when I played through version 1 where you could only summon ravens and one type of wolf or bear, the playthrough on normal was surprisingly very easy. While it wasn't quite as fast as a fire druid, it was a very safe build to play and actually performed surprisingly very well against endgame bosses. Now that sort of started to slow down a little bit as you progressed into Nightmare, and then basically once you hit Hell difficulty, you did kind of hit a little bit of a brick wall. So that's where being able to summon Spirit Wolves, Dire Wolves, a Summon Grizzly, and Ravens at the same time has vastly improved this build. It's made it a lot more viable. It's not necessarily kind of like your greatest like endgame like Foden chaos clearing sort of build. Where it kind of excels elsewhere is it is a super safe build, and it's a super viable build for those that don't have very good gear. You kind of hang back and let your summons do all the work. And that's another thing that when I was initially kind of comparing it to the Summon Necro, I was just like, well, the Summon Necro gets X amount of summons, you get Insight Golem, Telestomp, Amp damage, you Corp Explode the whole room. Like, it's just a far better version. Like, Summon Druid is just not quite there. But then kind of when I wanted to reevaluate my thinking, you're not stuck trying to find corpses to summon your army. That's not a thing with the Summon Druid. And then on top of that, just the ability to not be so tied to Enigma, because you can choose where to summon your summons whenever you want to. I don't think that sounded right. Summon your summons, but your minions, you can cast them whenever you want to, including if they die. So this works really well, especially on like Ubers or very tough characters. Say your Grizzly dies, you just recast them again right on top of a monster, or if you want your summons to point somewhere else, you just focus fire them on top of that specific monster. So that's kind of an area where the Summon Druid, I think, kind of excels over the Necro, but also the Summon Druid, or the Druid in general, has a lot of choices when it comes to hybrid builds. Like, there's so many. You can be shapeshifting and elemental. You can be pure elemental. You can be pure summoning. You can be shapeshifting with summoning support. You can choose to kind of trade off that ability to telestomp and reposition your summons to shift into a wolf or a bear to get a lot extra plus life. So Summon Necro, you're maybe like 2000, 2001, 200 life with like very good plus skill gear, but with an Oak Sage, or even if you don't go Oak Sage, but just 1 point into Werebear and like shapeshifting, you can have like 4 or 5,000 plus life. So what you trade off in like pure sheer raw damage, you can kind of make up with just extra survivability, not being able to be so tied to repositioning your mercenaries, and having a ton of extra plus life. So that was kind of one thing that I wanted to sort of mention about the Summoning Druid in general. Kind of made me sort of rethink my tune on the character, because I've always had this stance, like people are like, oh, the Trapsin is just a weaker lightning sorceress. The Trapsin should do more damage. While I do agree that the clear speed is slower, the sorceress for the most part is relatively squishy. Yes, she gets like 35,000, 40k, 1,000 lightning damage, but she's squishy. She doesn't have the same sort of tools in her arsenal like the Trapsin does. So yes, you're doing a lot less damage, but Trapsin has Cloak of Shadows, Fade, Burst of Speed. There's a lot of different ways you can kind of like use her utility skills to sort of supplement for that lack of raw damage. So that's kind of how I see the Summoning Druid as well. And I do want to mention that someone talked about this on my stream in chat, and I thought it was a really good idea, and it's actually something I want to explore. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. But apparently using Mist on your Druid or the Concentration Aura is actually better than Beast, because the level 9 Fanaticism Aura compared to, I think it's the level 13 Concentration Aura, maybe it's 13 to 15, I can't remember, but you get substantially more party damage using Mist than you do Beast. Now it is true that you trade off some of that increased attack speed, but that mostly benefits your Mercenary. Like, yeah, your Wolves attack a little bit quicker with Fanaticism as opposed to them not using it, but I think there's a little bit of kind of theory crafting there as far as shapeshifting into a Werebear, maybe using like Mist and a Demon Crossbow for really good IS, and you get freezes target, 4DL res, a big concentration aura, and then that way you're sort of not tied to a Pride Mercenary. You can use like Reaper's Toll, I don't know, Fortitude, Might Aura Mercenary setup, whatever. And also, some people like to say that there's like there's an interruption or overaction, whatever you want to call it, of Decrep and the blind target from the Ravens. There really isn't, because Ravens only blind not champions, not boss backs, and not end act bosses. So you're trading off like a little bit of overriding Decrep on some standard monsters, but having that Decrep just is so much better for bosses and champions. That's just what I found personally. Again, just let me know in the comment section below if you guys agree or disagree, but that was kind of like my rant on how I really wasn't looking at the Summon Druid the right way, and I do hope this kind of sheds some light on those that maybe think that the Summon Druid is just a worse summoning Necro. I just think it's a different character version, and I think that's something that you really need in the game. Like, when I keep coming back to like Lightning Sorceress compared to a Trapsin, right? One has more survivability, utility skills, one's more damage. Summon Necro, a little bit weaker, a variety of curses, different summons, Corpse Explosion for AoE damage, but you're kind of stuck trying to find corpses to summon your skeletons and that, so when they die, it's kind of a drawback there, versus a Druid, how you can just instantly spawn them whenever you want to. So I think there's trade-offs, and I think that's a good thing, but we're just going to jump now into a VOD of doing a player's 1N3 Chaos Sanctuary run with a pretty high-end geared Druid, so you guys can kind of compare the clear speed. Yeah, just let me know in the comments below what you guys think. What's going on, Diablo 2 fans? Druid here. Today's video, I'm going to be going over the new revitalized Summoning Druid. So basically, the only difference between the first PTR and this round of testing is we can now summon all of our minions at the same time, minus the 2 spirits. So we're looking at like 1k Spirit Wolf damage, Ravens 4k, Dire Wolves 2k, and then just over 5k with Summon Grizzly. That doesn't take into account Might Aura from the Mercenary, Beast support, like the Fanaticism Aura, that kind of thing. But the big difference, again, is you can summon everything at the same time. So I'm going to do a Players 1 and Players 3 Chaos run, so you guys can kind of get a feel for the clear speed. I guess I'll go over the gear quickly. Beast, Enigma, Shaco, Mara's, Phoenix for life replenishment. You could use Spirit, but this is kind of cool. When you Telestomp, you just constantly replenish your life. Alders, SOJs, Arachnid's Mesh, Mage Fist, Summoning Skillers, Torch and Annie. And the Mercenary is Reaper's Toll, Fortitude, and Endurio's Visage. Now, I do want to mention, I did mess around with Pride. Pride's just worse. I messed around with Ravenlore, messed around with Shaco, Reaper's Toll, Pride, different combinations. This is kind of the best that I've come up with over just testing like for half an hour here. But you guys get to see the full Zoo army. So we have all of this damage combined, and then we can Telestomp and focus that all on monsters. So we're going to do Players 1 and then Players 3 Chaos Sanctuary run. Now, I have really good gear, so this isn't like Hodo and Viper Magi, that kind of thing. This is the best possible gear. I would still only rate this like a B plus build. I don't think it's quite reaching into like A tier, kind of S tier territory. But you're basically just repetitively Telestomping on top of monsters. This is Players 1. I will go up to Players 3. Petition to change it changes the name Beastmaster. I'm going to show the Beastmaster version later. So yeah, pretty solid clear speed. It's not like... I don't think Players 8 is a really good benchmark for stuff. So it's definitely slower than like your Hammerton, Javazon, that kind of thing, but... is a pretty safe build though. So it'd probably be a pretty cool hardcore build. Because if you're just hanging back, you let your summons do your thing, recast them, you're very safe. That's P1. We'll jump it up to P3, and then we'll finish the run on P3. And I may even make a separate video doing Ubers or something. I will point out when my summons are killing stuff here, there is the option of switching into bear and running around. Like, I could actually do that right now because I have beast. So you could, instead of it being like boring gameplay, like telestomping, you could be a werebear or a fury druid or something and kind of like attack with your summons. But then you lose the ability to reposition them with telestomping. So if you want more survivability, more life, you could go shapeshifting. If you want to be able to telestomp and always reposition, then you're kind of stuck druid form, human druid form using Enigma. But this is players 3, like, pretty good clear speed. Thought they said they fixed that seal! Hardcore only build? I mean, it's at least viable now, I think. And I do eventually want to do... I mean, that's true sodium, but that's just what D2 is. There's like 3 builds that excel with like no gear, and then everything else you just need tons of plus skill and gear, right? But that's just kind of like inherently D2, unless they just slap like double the damage. I mean, it's hard to say what my summons are doing, because it's 5k, but he's getting a Might and Fanaticism more, so I would imagine the bear is probably like 10 plus k. Concentrated boss damage? That's... I mean, like, you don't have to do anything, right? Like, Diablo just died on his own, so... Got Laying of Hands, too. So that is the Summoning Druid, guys. Again, really the only difference, the synergies are all the same. It's just that we can now summon all the pets at the same time. If we're talking about maybe ways to improve it, like I kind of rate it a B tier build at most. I definitely don't think it's A or approaching S tier. The ability to maybe summon 2 sages at the same time with the different pets might be a way to... That's not actually going to increase clear speed. This is going to give you a little bit more life. So that would actually improve shapeshifting and stuff, which I will touch on later in PTR. But that's kind of an overview of the Summoning Druid. It's better. I don't think this is like a meta-defining build, but at least it's better than what it was. But let me know in the comment section below if you guys agree, disagree, or if you change it, or you like it the way it is. Definitely better for hardcore, but it's way better than what it was. I mean, I think you could leave this for the current patch and it'd be completely fine. Anyways, guys, catch you on the next video or live stream. Peace out.